Good evening, everybody. We are here again for episode four. Four. I'm still keeping count, guys. um,
I like
episode
it.
four of the Fence Forecast. We have a great show for you guys tonight. Dolphins eked one out against the Jaguars. They have a huge matchup against the Bills coming up this week. First and foremost, I'm going to address the elephant in the room. Tyreek Hill and Calais Campbell were detained by Miami police on the way to the stadium on Sunday before the game. Us here at Finn's Forecast, this is a football show. And what's going on with Tyreek and Calais Campbell? First of all, the proverbial legal hammer has yet to drop in this case, so we don't know any of the specifics just yet. All we know is that we are a football show, and what happened with Calais Campbell and Tyreek Hill goes so far beyond outside the realm of football. Goes so far outside the realm of what goes on between those two white lines. That's not what we're here to talk about tonight. We're here to talk about the Miami Dolphins. We're here to talk about Miami Dolphins football. So with all that being said, we're going to start our show right after this. All right. Good evening, everybody. We are back for the yes. We are back for the Fence Forecast. We have a great show planned for you guys tonight. The Dolphins eked one out against the Jaguars, and we have a huge matchup against the Bills coming up this week. As I've said, first I'm going to introduce my esteemed panel to everybody. I'm going to start off with you, Anthony. How you doing tonight, man?
I'm doing great, dude. It was a stressful day. It was a stressful Sunday.
Yes.
First one of the year. But I'm ready to go. We made it past it. I have a few less hairs, but we're moving on to the Bills now.
Absolutely. Steve, how you doing tonight, man?
Good,
Love
man.
the
How are you?
sweatshirt. Love the sweatshirt.
Thanks. It's an original 1980s. My father-in-law got it for me.
Nice.
Show them the logo, the cracked
Got
logo.
Dude, yeah, the paint's cracked in it. You gotta represent something like that.
Oh man, it brings me back, dude.
Yep.
Awesome. Josh, how you doing, man?
Hey, you know what? I'm living my life, man. Living my best life. And, to be honest with you, I'll take an ugly win over a pretty loss any day.
Yeah. Now, I will say this about the win. It was super ugly, like you said. The Dolphins have kind of raised the bar to the point where ugly wins like that leave me feeling more dissatisfied than satisfied. They got the win, but they did not play well doing it. So we're going to get into all that. What were your initial reactions on the game, Anthony?
So I've been thinking about this, and the one thing I really wanted to point out is how great it feels like that our team is in a position where we were down 14-0, and it didn't feel to me like we were out of it. Right? Yeah. Like in the past 14-0, this team is not.
Oh, it was
like,
over.
You may as well just go mow the lawn or something because the game's over, right? But at 14-0, the way we were playing, we just missed. I mean, Tua just missed Tyreek on 2 bombs already at that point. Like, I just knew it was a matter of time before they connected and got us right back in the game. And then defense. Steve talked last week about not being sure about this defense. What are we going to see out of the defense? And the defense kind of kept us in this one. Not kind of. The defense did keep us in this one. Ultimately we get the win because of them.
Steve, what are your initial thoughts on the game? How'd you feel coming away from it?
I had watched it from my phone because there was a baptism. So it was a car ride home that I really got to think about this game. And to be honest, I was a little bit more optimistic than I thought I was going to be, because there was times when the team could have just given up like easily, and they didn't. They went into halftime down 17-7, came out, forced good fumble in the third quarter and came up with an 80-yard bomb to Tyreek to really get the game a little closer and the momentum swing going. There was a lot of big plays on defense with Calais Campbell. So as I was thinking, I was like, man, there's some players that really never gave up on that. And it was a good game to actually watch.
Yeah, it was. I mean, if you're a non-fan of either team, that game had to have been super exciting for you.
No, but
as a fan,
there was
I was
players.
ready to throw myself off of my balcony out here.
there was players that I was interested in watching because for the whole offseason, the big question mark was defensive tackle. And there's now an explanation point at that position. It's not a question mark anymore because Calais Campbell was all over that football. I mean, if he wasn't in Trevor Lawrence's face, his hand was up in the air when the ball was getting thrown. Like he was chasing down running backs 10 yards down the field, even if he wasn't getting there. Like first, he was constantly all over the field. I constantly saw his number.
He looks like a dude who's 10 years younger than he actually is, too.
He played great.
It's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Josh, what do you think, man? What were your initial thoughts?
I mean, Jesus, I have so much to say about this game, which I'll hold off for later. I don't want to blow through all my stats and whatnot, but I think honestly, this boils down to what Anthony and Steve said. I think we found a way to gut this out versus a very underrated Jags team, right? I mean, top 5, top 7 type defense with 2 insanely good defensive ends that are true game wreck. I mean, they led the league in combined total sacks last year. So we're not going up against.
They're probably the 2 best defensive edge rushers in the NFL right now.
I mean, yeah. And if they're not, they're 2. If they're not 1, they're 2, right? So we're not going up against the Jacksonville from 5, 7, 10 years ago, right?
Right.
Where it's a high school team, essentially. I think this is a game where even as early as 3 years ago, we lose. And we lose handedly because the team gives up. The coaching staff overcoaches this game. We have Josh Boyer, for example, throwing the kitchen sink, trying to slow down Trevor and Travis Etienne, and we lose this game by like 30 points. And I just absolutely love the grit. I love the reports of Tua shutting down the coach's talk during halftime to call out Tyreek Hill, to call out Jalen Waddle, to call out the players that are the stars of this team, the Ramseys, to tell them to essentially, and pardon my French, get their head out of their ass.
Yeah.
And there's a stark difference from what the product that this team put on the field in the first half versus what they did in the second. And I'll tell you what, man, it gives me hope.
If I could add to that, I mean, that play in the start of the fourth quarter when Ramsey came across from sideline to sideline and put his shoulder right into ATN, that wasn't happening unless Tua got into them at some point in the halftime. No. I mean, he ran 50, 60 yards just to get a tackle 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. It was incredible play. Steve. Incredible
great
play.
Point. And honestly, I saw the whole defense kind of swarming. I didn't stop and look at it until the next day and see that was Ramsey that was in pursuit of that play.
Oh yeah,
they all were
from the start.
They all were, but Ramsey was in pursuit that entire time and chased that play down. That's not something we've really come accustomed to seeing from Jalen Ramsey.
No, and keep in mind, guys, Jalen Ramsey is coming off of not playing in the preseason, not practicing hardly any in the preseason, and nursing an injury and on a snap count. And I think that plays into a lot of our initial. Ramsey played like dog poop, right?
Yeah,
he did not have it. I mean, he was rusty. He was probably out of football shape. I mean, there's so much that goes into what some of the things we were. Now there are some bad, and I'm sure we'll get to those. As soon as we can. But Ramsey really stepped up when we needed him to in that instance, for example. But I thought it was really cool. The defense held the Jags obviously to 0 points, 2 for 10 on third downs, and we held them to 0-1 on fourth downs. And I think, it's, like you said, stark difference from start to finish.
Before we get into the game, I'm going to take a look at the chat here. We have Andrew McFarland out there. We discussed the Tyreek Hill incident, and that's where we're going to leave it, Andrew. But we really appreciate you tuning in, man. We really do.
Hey, shout out. That's my brother, by the way, guys.
Okay. All right.
Shout out to Andrew and PT, who's the gentleman that we just put the comment on. He's one of my very good friends as well. He's a massive, massive, massive Dolphins fan.
All right, well, Preston, great to have you on, man. Great to see you out there, and we appreciate you tuning in. Why do you think the Bills have our number? We are going to get into that. I promise you. We're gonna do the Jaguars first. First things first. We have to address this Jaguars game, but we will get into that. And so y'all felt
This depends on the
still.
team heavily. Is This here depends on the team and determine
Yeah.
like which lead makes me nervous. If we're down 14-0 against the Bills, I'm real nervous.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, yeah. I
If
think
we're down
it's
14-0
week
against
by
the
week.
Jags. Right. But like,
Yeah.
14-0 against Trevor Lawrence, a guy who's prone to mistakes, the Jags team that's very undisciplined. I don't feel that nervous, but the Bills are a different story. So
Yeah, well, the Bills have had our number, and of course, Preston will get into that.
Yeah, and I do think, like, for example, the 2 weeks that we play the New England Patriots, I think I feel comfortable with if we were down 28 points to 0, I think I still feel comfortable with us coming back. And
Well,
yes,
but that
I'm
Panthers
talking
game
crap
last
because my brother Andrew is a massive Patriots fan.
It was like that. It was like that Panthers game last year when the Dolphins went down
Oh,
early in that game, and I was actually driving home from the shore. So I got home and it was already like 14-0 or 17-0, and I thought, they'll come back and win this thing.
yeah.
I wasn't all that concerned. I was concerned on Sunday. I was concerned with the way the Dolphins came out and played. I was concerned because the Jaguars are a better team than the Panthers were last year. But
They're
my
a good team.
concerns, they're a good team.
Yeah.
My concerns go beyond the fact the Dolphins went down 14 points. So let's get into it. The Dolphins start out this game. They go 3-and-out on their first drive. They look out of sync offensively. They can't get anything going in the running game. Tua looks off kilter a little bit. Do we chalk this up to rust because they barely played in the preseason? Is that what we're chalking this up to, or was there something more to it than that? Was there something for example, did the Dolphins not take the Jaguars seriously enough? Did they come out and think, you know what, we're a better team than them. We can win this game easily. All I have to do is roll the ball out there. Like what led to such a slow start and them being so out of sync? Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Tua said as much. I mean, Tua has been enormously candid after this first game of the year. He even said, I don't remember if it was a sideline interview, post-game interview. I don't remember. But he even said, like, yeah, we kind of came out here and, we didn't give them the respect that we should have, and we got kicked in the mouth. So, yes, I think it was partly that. I think the play calling early on was play calling the whole game. I didn't like. It wasn't something that I love to see. We threw more passes behind the line of scrimmage than over the line of scrimmage, which is absurd. So I think it was rusty amongst the coaches, rusty amongst the players, and just unspirited in the first half. You don't see Tua get uppity like that very often. So for him to go into the halftime and have that huge, like, emotional, like, guys, get your head out of your butt sort of like speech is things were bad. Like, what he was seeing on the field wasn't what he expected to see on the field. And like, I mentioned earlier that, Tua missed Tyreek on 2 longer balls, but one of those I just felt like Tyreek just died on the play. Like, he just stopped running it up the sideline. And then he looks up and he realizes that Tua threw it to him, and he's like, yep, I didn't run that out. So like it was tough. It was really tough. And then, which is crazy because the beginning of the game I felt like had a lot of promise to it. I don't know if it was the first drive or the second drive. They finally got the ball moving a little bit before they kind of sputtered out. The first defensive drive, I mean, Josh and I were fanboying hard in the Discord chat on that first defensive drive because it was like a formidable 3-and-out.
I mean, like, bad. It was awesome.
Yeah. I was like, that's it, game over, 75-0, let's go. But that obviously didn't happen. So, I think that led to a lot of disappointment too, after seeing kind of like, all right, yeah, this defense is going to be real good. And this offense, well, they're a little rusty, but they're going to get it together. And then not to see them get it together till it was probably the fourth quarter or something.
Yeah.
I mean, it was late.
Yeah.
That was
But
tough.
even then, I wouldn't consider, even in the fourth quarter, I wouldn't say the Dolphins, quote unquote, got it together. I think
No.
that they strung together. And I mean, some would say this is the definition of them getting it together, but you'd have to, they strung together some plays that allowed them to get into Jaguars territory and score some points, but they never felt offensively truly in sync the entire game to me.
Well, guys, remember that we have Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, and then a bunch of fourth stringers. I mean, we're missing OBJ, we're missing our third and fourth receivers. We're down a sixth receiver. So I think that also played a lot into the chemistry issues, if you will, the seeming chemistry issues, and the reason. Okay, well, when Tua gets through his second read, his next read isn't going to be River Craycraft because he's not there, right?
Yeah.
It's not going to be OBJ because he's not there. It's going to be Durham Smythe, who can't catch a cold.
Ugh.
It's going to be Jonnu Smith, who I'm going to be completely candid with you, seemed like he did not want to be there.
He really did.
He really did. I mean, you look at the A-chain play, right, where he caught the ball and ran it like 30-something yards, 40 yards. He was one block away from scoring a 70-something yard touchdown. Guess who that last block was?
Yeah.
Jonnu Smith. And guess who just stopped running? Jonnu Smith. Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much that goes into this. And I think it's kind of crazy, right? We're all kind of down on this game. I don't mean to speak for all you guys, but I think we're all kind of down on this game, week one. Mm-hmm. We still almost double the Jags in offensive output, in yardage, in passing, in first downs, in everything. I think, if we can continue to show that output week in and week out, I think we will be in every single game.
I agree. I agree. Jonnu Smith, I just think this is a role he's not accustomed to playing. Like at one point he came out of the backfield and was a lead blocker, basically playing the fullback role. And I saw a look on his face like, man, I have never done this before in my entire life. I've never been asked to do this kind of thing before in my entire life. Mm-hmm. I think he'll adjust. I think he'll adapt to this new world order. But for the time being, I think everybody's adjusting. Everybody's kind of adjusting to one another, even though they're returning largely the same players that did last year.
Yeah.
It was a bad day for the tight end room.
Oh, yeah. Well, I will say this though: Julian Hill was probably the star of that unit. He blocked his ass off. He was in on two pass plays where he was down the field blocking and pushing the Jaguars defender, or cornerback, or safety, whatever it was, into the stands. Yeah.
Julian Hill, man, if he can learn to catch, he's going to be a force in this league. Yes. All right, so Steve, Dolphins a little out of sync to start out with. Offensively, good.
I think there's a second. I think there's a second thing to look at here, and I saw this probably the end of preseason at some point in time. But we went from the youngest team just 2-3 years ago to now the oldest team in the league. Yeah. So I believe that also plays a little bit of a factor. And all last year, if you don't, I'm sure we're going to remember, but we started off slow, and at least half of them games we were second half teams. There was a bunch of them games where Mossert had 38 yards in the first half, and then by the end of the game he had 250. So there is a game like that. I forget what team he did it on, but there's certainly one of those
multiple.
I just think that Mike McDaniel kind of thought that we were going to pick up right where we left off. I think he kind of got a little cute in the beginning, and he tried to do some towards the middle of the game. They really started doing what I predicted that they were going to do. They just did it with a different player. They started really checking down to the running back. A-Chain had 7 receptions for 76 yards, and that really helps out the offense when that starts moving. But in the first quarter, there was none of that. Maybe 1 or 2, but he really got it picked up in the second and third quarters. And that's kind of when we started to find our identity on offense. We got our first touchdown at the end of the second quarter. Third quarter, our defense came up big, pushed that momentum to the offense. We had that 80-yard bomb. Jalen Waddle had a 63-yard bomb right before that. So that those little dump passes to A-Chain was now starting to open up these bigger plays. And I just kind of think Mike McDaniel, wanted those big plays before doing the little things, and he kind of wasn't having his play call in the right order. I think everybody was kind of just excited to get out there, and everybody wanted to see a Hail Mary right off the bat. That's what you think of when you think of Miami Dolphins football right now. You have two of the biggest speedsters, and you got the whole stadium packed full of people screaming, wanting to see it. You want to give it to them. I get it, but you can't just come out and start shooting all your bullets in one drive. You gotta dump it down.
We're gonna go to the chat here. Last season, Tua hit his first target often. This week, he really had to go through his progressions to find someone. Is that more of a tribute to the Jags D, or were our wide receivers just slacking? I wouldn't say our wide receivers were slacking. And you know what? We're also not giving credit where credit's due. The Jaguars came out firing on all cylinders. Jaguars came out ready to play some football.
Yeah.
Look, they have a top 7 defense. They really genuinely do. Across the board.
Yeah. So I think to answer your question, Preston, I think personally that it was just the Dolphins didn't play a lot in the preseason, and they needed to adjust. They needed to adjust to what the Jaguars were hitting them with. Need to adjust to edge rushers who are just absolute studs at their respective positions. Like Josh Hines Allen is an impressive human being, an impressive athlete, man.
Disgusting.
Yeah. And Trayvon Walker was the first pick in the draft for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Snicklefritz. Love the username, bro.
I want to let everyone know that this is one of my very good friends, and he is a massive Bills fan, so be careful.
All right. So how much do you contribute the slow start to being week 1 versus the Jags game plan? Yeah, I think it's both. I think it's 50-50 or 60-40, whatever you want to call it. With a little sprinkling of the Dolphins didn't come out of the gates ready to go. What do you guys think about this?
Yeah, I think the Jags defense played incredibly well. We talked in the preview show about how their new defensive style was bend with don't break. Tua leads the league in passing, but we only have 20 points. That's exactly what they did. They bent, but they didn't break, and their offense couldn't capitalize to keep them in the game, and our defense did. That was the only difference, right? Like that was the big difference in this game is
Javon Holland.
Javon Holland literally turned the game around with one play. And the Jags never stood a chance after that. So I think the Jags deserve a lot of credit for the game plan. Everybody starts slow in week 1. We can't like just be like, yeah, it's slow starting team. Like every team is a slow starting team. It's week 1. There's hardly any training camp anymore. They don't really hit anymore in practice. There's 3 preseason games. The starters play in like 1. So, they haven't played. They haven't played real football in 9 months. So I
agree. It was a tough pill to swallow, especially when Jake Bailey. Shout out to Jake Bailey, by the way.
Jesus.
He's taken some fire from people on this channel, myself included.
Where is he there?
But you know what? We all concurred with Josh. We needed better from Jake Bailey, and Jake Bailey was amazing in this game.
I think potential game ball type game for Jake Bailey. I'm not exaggerating.
Yeah,
I think Josh needs to write like an op-ed.
I already have. It got front page of the U.S. the Miami Herald.
I think it made the Sun Sentinel too.
I was wrong.
No.
The crow tasted delicious though, for what it's worth.
You weren't wrong to criticize him when you did, but after a game like that, I think we can put those criticisms aside for
a week,
at least a week. Yeah. What have you done for me lately, right? But yeah, Jake Bailey was awesome in this game. He pinned the Jaguars inside their own 5-yard line, and the Jaguars drove the ball right down the field and scored a touchdown against us. It was a demoralizing drive. They did it quickly too. They did it in just chunk plays. Travis Etienne running, off the edge for 20 yards.
Bigsby,
Fucking
dude.
Tank
man.
Bigsby, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why they
They
put
got-
ETN in, I don't know, because Tank was crushing us.
Yeah.
For how little yards they actually got, it seems like they kept getting them big chunk plays. And
Yeah.
their game style compared to their stats, it doesn't correlate for me.
know.
Like I constantly see Bigsby hitting that big run that ATN eventually fumbled on, but he's the one that started that. That started on like the 4-yard line. And they just moved from the 4-yard line all the way down to, it was like inside the 15, 20-yard line when he broke it to Holland's ball punch.
I think Tank had runs of 17 and 26 on that drive.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's nuts.
And
So-
you know what's hard though is as fans of this team, the team, of the Miami Dolphins, we obviously we look at what we think this team should do in a bubble a lot of times. And I'm not saying we as in us on this show. I mean we as a fan base. And I think I know we kind of touched on it earlier, but this Jag team is no pushover. They're not. I mean, the Jaguars as a franchise have such a negative connotation because of the last 2 decades that haven't been good. I mean, perennial top 5 picks in the draft. This team is solid. This team is very solid. So it did not surprise me as much as I thought it would when we pinned him on the 4-yard line and they drove the field. I mean, Trevor Lawrence was the first overall pick. They have stud wide receivers. I mean, not stud wide receivers, but top tier type talent at wide receiver. They have a single running back and one that Tank Bigsby that I thought wasn't good last year, but apparently is a stud. And they have an okay offensive line. I mean, this team is not a pushover. So, I think I personally underestimated the quality that the Jaguars were putting on the field based on my bias from my historical bias of that franchise.
See, Mr. Stickle Fritz here. It's no argument Mike McDaniel is one of the best play callers in the league. How confident you in your DC's play calling both in week 1 going forward? So yeah, I agree, Josh. Personally, and I'm gonna throw this to you guys because I thought Anthony Weaver had a super strong debut with the Miami Dolphins.
Awesome.
It didn't start out great. The Jaguars were able to drive the ball down the field, get chunk plays against us. The touchdown that Trevor Lawrence threw in the back of the end zone on that play, that ball was just a beautifully thrown football.
There were 3 Dolphins there. It was
but I will say this: I rewatched the film. Right, I studied the game, and that was a Jordan Poyer mistake, not a Ramsey mistake. Jordan Poyer took a wrong angle, stopped running, and then tried to catch up on his player because he was he was responsible for the back zone of that defense. And Ramsey backtracked with his player, noticed it, peeled off to try to make a play. And Anthony, I think I'm pretty sure you remember, we were both like, oh, I can't believe Ramsey gave that up. He got toasted. I looked back at the film ready to roast him on this show. That was a Poyer thing, and Poyer had a horrible game.
Yeah, he did. Yeah. That's one of those, we're going to give out game balls a little bit later on in the game in the show.
What else are we giving out?
With that?
What else are we giving out?
We are giving it. Go ahead, tell the people, Josh.
We're giving out game balls for those that we thought deserve them. We're giving out jock straps to those that we thought that deserve it.
Yes. And Jordan Poyer is a definite contender for a jock strap award.
Oh, yes. Very much so.
But to get back to what Mr. Snickle Fritz asked us, love the username. Awesome. I think Anthony Weaver had a super strong debut. The Jaguars were able to move the ball in the first half against the Dolphins, but as the game wore on, the yards were harder and harder to come by for the Jaguars, and that's a testament to Anthony Weaver, in my opinion. Steve, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that Anthony Weaver definitely had a good game. He had a great second half, but we're also overshadowing the fact that Lawrence missed a couple if not one, two, definitely one really big pass in the fourth quarter that could have put more points on the board for Jacksonville. He missed Christian Kirk on third down inside the 50-yard line right after that lousy 42-yard field goal that we attempted.
Yeah.
The very next
Jesus.
drive. Yeah, the very next drive. I mean, Lawrence essentially gave us the ball right back.
Mhm.
And within 10 yards of his scoring distance, because if you remember, their kicker blasted one through the uprights just before halftime, and wherever they had that red line marked, he had like 10 more yards to go. He hit the
Easy.
back of that net easy. So
Was the reception the one on Cater?
Yes.
Yeah. Cater.
Yeah.
Oof.
Christian
but
Kirk was like our best defensive player for a few of those.
yeah, but at the same time, I'm not trying to take anything away from our defensive coordinator. I mean, he had pressure on Lawrence at all times. He had different types of man coverages and zone coverages. He kept mixing that up. He had linebackers blitzing. He had linebackers covering. He had sometimes 3-man down. Sometimes he had 4 hands in the dirt. And I like when there's more hands in the dirt. I've said that before. And when that happened, you saw Trevor kind of feeling the pressure even a little bit more. And he'd bring a blitzer from a corner. He was bringing Calais Campbell a lot more than anything. Well, he was getting in there a lot more than anything. But I think that there was a lot of better play from certain players, and I think the scheme's going to come together a lot more anyway. But I think certain players really held it together for our defensive core. But I do think it's going to be a lot more cohesive as the season goes on. I like the way he held his defense together.
I like the fact go ahead, Josh.
He ran 11 different variations in week 1 of defensive formations. 11.
Yeah. Like I said, I had to watch this thing on a phone, but I was noticing like just not weird formations, but it almost reminded me of like an old Pittsburgh Steelers. Like you don't know who's in what position. You have a safety all the way up with the linebackers. You have cornerbacks with the linebackers, and then they're bumping out. Like it was, you don't know who's coming and who's not. And I like that about that.
And that's the benefit of our linebackers, I think.
Yeah.
Is because
that helps,
they can
sure.
cover. They're 4-down linebackers, both of them.
But we were getting hit with those chunk running plays, and it constantly happened last year. And it was our Achilles heel to the defense was those big runs.
Yeah, and that's something the Dolphins are going to have to clean up moving forward.
Yeah, big time.
Anthony, what do you think about what Mr. Snigglefritz had to say?
I mentioned it earlier. I thought it was a pretty poor showing for Mike McDaniel in terms of play calling. Like you guys mentioned, the offense never did really get it together in this game. We had the 80-yard bomb to Tyreek, and then the rest of the game, it was a struggle for yardage. I mean, it was – and I don't understand the number of screen plays. Like, usually you want to kind of set up the screen, right? We just screened for no reason at all.
Well, I think that's just to protect the offensive line, no?
Well, I'm sure, but Tua's already got the fastest release in the league. I mean, he can hit his guys. It's I don't know, like, because I can't say it's bad because I'm not an expert in play calling, but it just wasn't what I would want to see from an offense that has 2 of the fastest receivers in the league and one of the fastest running backs in the league. It's like, I understand getting the ball in your playmakers' hands, but there's other ways to do that besides behind the line of scrimmage. So I wasn't too pumped up about how our offense looked, and I'm really worried about it this tomorrow. So we'll talk about that.
Yeah.
In terms of the defense, they did. Like Steve mentioned and Josh mentioned, lots of different lineups. I also noticed the number of guys coming up to the line of scrimmage, and I was like, I have no idea who's blitzing here. Trevor's head must be like spinning.
Yeah, and I think that's what helped. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I think that's what helped Calais Campbell get in there, because I think he's too busy watching everybody else, and boom, Calais is right in his face. He almost doesn't have time to get out of the pocket.
Well, we're 34 minutes into the show, guys, and we haven't even mentioned Jalen Phillips. I mean, like, he single-handedly stopped several drives. And this dude's coming, what is he, fresh off of an Achilles tear late in last season, and he's already back. He's on a snap count, but he's making a difference every play. It's insane.
He was as quietly good as Tua's quietly the NFL passing leader.
Exactly.
Great analogy, Steve. I love it.
But I will say
I was literally
go ahead.
I was literally just going to say, Josh, that I thought the front 4 was the best. I think the linebackers have worked, the defensive backs have worked, but that front 4 is in
I loved it.
mid-season form. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I will say
And-
this: there is a preconceived notion that our offensive line was bad. Now our guards were not great, right? But if you
Robert
look
Jones
at
is
pressures allowed, the percentage of pressures allowed, Miami Dolphins offensive line ranks number 1 in the league at 14.6%. New Orleans is number 2 at 15.4. Pittsburgh's and Dallas are tied for 3 at 20%, and Cincinnati's at 22.9.
Well,
So-
I think that's skewed because of the number of screen passes.
I mean, possibly, but overall offensive line rankings, overall, not just pressures allowed, overall, we're number 5.
That's encouraging. I know Robert Jones couldn't have contributed to that.
Oh my
He
God.
had-
no, he had a penalty every quarter.
Yeah.
Robert Jones needs to
Maybe not
go
every- but-
somewhere.
He had 3.
It seemed like he had a lot. Yeah.
Let's see. This is Michaela, Steve's wife. Hi,
Oh,
guys.
man.
Not exactly name related, but this question is for any of you who consider yourselves fantasy football gurus. My week 1 was rough, and I need guidance on some week 2 moves. All right. We're here to help if we can, Michaela.
Yep.
For my wide receiver choice, do I go with Adam Thielen, Christian Kirk, or Zay Flowers? For running backs, Christian McCaffrey's out again. Yeah,
So you
that's
start J.K. Dobbins
JK and Zay.
and put Zay Flowers in if you can only do one of each.
I would say. Yeah, I would say. I would
And
say
Thielen-
maybe Christian Kirk. Christian Kirk had a rough week 1, but Lawrence clearly looks his way off.
Yeah, and Thielen got like 19 targets, so
Yeah,
or something like that was something
Yeah.
stupid like that. But Zay
I
Flowers
like-
is the best of all of those 3, in my opinion,
Yeah.
from a sheer talent level.
I like Thielen in the PPR league. We are
Yeah.
half a point, so it's not a full PPR. But I think you should listen to one of these two and put J.K. Dobbins.
Well,
in 'cause
definitely
we
don't listen
do
to the guy you went against.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I did just beat my wife in fantasy, but
and he's been sleeping on the couch ever since.
yeah.
Well, the
Kind of
couch
beat
at least
yourself though,
looks
because you drafted the team.
well. At least the couch looks comfortable.
It's
true.
It's nice.
All right, so we have True Fin Fan coming in. Thank you for. He's our first independent fan. So we're so honored to have you on the show again, man. How close was I? I said close game heading into the 4th quarter with Miami winning 23-16 versus the Jags. Go back and I remember you, man.
Oh no, yep, I wrote it down.
Uh-huh.
27,
Yeah, I remember you,
23,
and
yeah,
It-
close.
Hey, hell of a call by you.
We talked
so
about you after the show.
We
sure
did.
did.
We
We
did.
were stoked. We were
We
stoked.
were gushing about it. But yeah, no, great call by you, and we appreciate you tuning in again. Again, we'll be here every Tuesday at 7, and we're going to be doing
Thursday.
this
Wednesday at 7.
every Wednesday at 7. Sorry,
Thursday, Friday, whatever it is.
every Wednesday at 7. Sorry. So all right, so we've alluded to it. We've kind of said it. The Dolphins were 2 yards away from losing this football game. In the 3rd quarter, Travis Etienne was about to rumble into the end zone for a 15-yard touchdown run. Javon Holland came in, punched the ball out, and the score at that time was 17-7. Travis Etienne goes into the end zone, makes it 24-7. It's my personal opinion. The Dolphins aren't coming back from that. So you guys can disagree. You guys can disagree, and that's what we're here for. We're here to give our opinions. Dolphins go down 24-7 in that game. The way the momentum was swinging, the way the pendulum was swinging in that game, I don't see them coming back. So in my eyes, Javon Holland saved that game by punching that ball out. Kader Kohu recovers it in the end zone, and then Tua hits Tyreek for an 80-yard touchdown pass. That's a 14-point swing.
That is
In
What
the
a,
third
what a
quarter.
2-play sequence.
right.
Yeah.
I know, absolutely nuts.
Exactly. So I saw Anthony and Steve over there shaking their heads. Anthony, I'm going to go to you first. You disagree with what I'm saying?
No, I agree. I 100% agree.
Okay.
I was shaking my head no
Me
because
too.
I was saying no, we don't come back. I don't think we do.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
It looked like you disagreed with me.
Oh, sorry. I agree.
Steve, did you disagree with me?
No, I agree. I do agree.
Fair enough.
Reluctantly.
Yeah.
I love how he's thinking about whether or not he wants to play devil's advocate. He's like,
That's hard. That's hard. It's a hard one to do.
Well,
Well-
okay, I'll play devil's advocate. I mean,
Okay.
I will say this. I agree with you, right? But if we need somebody to play devil's advocate here, I think if you look at the talent and speed that we have, if any team is going to come back from that kind of deficit, there are very few in the league that can. And no matter how you feel about the Miami Dolphins offense, and no matter how you feel about Tua, no matter how you feel about Coach Mike McDaniel, this team has done it before. We have a track record of coming back in games. I mean, look at Ravens game, look at other games. I'm drawing a blank on, obviously, right? As I'm live. Arizona, thank you. And even a couple games last year where we were the opposing team scored, we were down 2 touchdowns, we were down 2 touchdowns and a field goal, or whatever it was, and this team found a way to do it.
Yeah.
Now, that's when that was devil's advocate. Now I will say I agree with you, because I think in a lot of those games, the running game is what triggered the passing game. And our running game was non-existent in this one. Now, our 2 offensive guards struggled. You can't question that. Our center was decent. Our tackles were actually surprisingly good in this game, given what they were going up against. And I think our running backs outside of A-Chain did absolutely nothing.
Jeff
so happy
Wilson.
Jeff Wilson did. These guys have to talk about Jeff Wilson.
he hit a big run in the fourth quarter when
he did.
He had 24 yards.
But I
definitely came with like 1-2 handoffs.
I want to hear more from Josh about HM, because I saw some people on the internet, which we all know is the cesspool, say that HN didn't play well, and I was like, "What are you talking about?" He was like our best player.
I mean, he didn't have rushing yards. I mean, I think he was at 49 rushing yards, but that is not how we game plan for him. The game plan for HN was use the run to set up to set up the pass. And because we did not have a good third option at wide receiver, he was the de facto wide receiver 3 in a lot of these formations. And I think with his ability to catch and his speed and his quick twitch, he is the perfect player to have stepped in. It couldn't be Mostert. It wasn't. I mean, it could have been Jalen Wright, the rookie, but he was not available. So I think, what did he have? 7 receptions for 76 yards, and he ran the ball 12 times or something.
24 on the ground. It was a bad day on the ground. But I mean, Mostert was 6 for 9. So when you compare,
I started him in my fantasy league.
Mostert got banged up early in that game and didn't look right for the rest of the
chest injury, I think, right, guys?
Yeah, and he's already been ruled out for Thursday night.
Good news is, though, HN practiced today, so he should be good to go.
Yeah,
partial practice. I saw he was.
Well, it was stretching. It was 1-on-1s, and it was light contact.
Yeah,
but he didn't have the red jersey on.
I'll take it. I'll take it, because we need all the help we can get coming up into this Bills game. We are going to finish up talking about this Jaguars game, though, because the one thing I wanted to get into was this offseason, Tua, he lost some weight, and he kind of went into it with the goal of becoming slightly more mobile, both inside and outside of the pocket, so that he can help extend plays for the Dolphins. He looked more mobile to me. He certainly looked lighter. He looked better, but that also got him into trouble a couple of times, namely when the Dolphins were on like 35-yard line and they were, on the edge of field goal range, and Tua takes a sack, knocks him out of field goal range. I was angry with him at the time. It's still a play that makes my blood boil a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But Tua looked better, in my opinion. He looks more nimble. He looks quicker. What'd you guys think about? Like you said, Tua kind of goes in every offseason with a goal of getting better in a certain area. So do you think he's improved in that area? Josh, I'll go to you.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think you can question it. I mean, yeah, he took a sack. Okay, players are going to make a mistake. I mean, he's not perfect. He's human, right? And was it at the wrong time? Absolutely. But I think to your point and to the point that we made on our season analysis that, Tua picks a thing every offseason to get better at. Last season, he put on weight so he could be more durable. He played every single game. This is the lightest he's been since Alabama. And I think if you look at his college tape, Tua was not just a pocket passer. He was never going to be. He's not a Lamar Jackson, right?
Right.
I mean, that's
Right.
fine. I don't want a Lamar Jackson. But him being more mobile, coupled with everything else that he already is from a pocket awareness standpoint, from a quick read, from an accuracy standpoint, it just rounds out the rough edges of his game. And I think you could see that on the 3 scrambles I think he had. I forgot what it was, but those were smooth. He slid a lot better. He got himself out of a lot of, on the 2 sacks that he took, he was able to shift his body so he didn't take the full brunt of the sack. I mean, a lot went into it. And I think I loved what I saw from Tua. I mean, he put up 300, what did he put up? 319 passing?
338.
330, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he's clearly doing something right.
Yeah. Anthony, what do you think?
Yeah, it took 3 sacks, only 19 yards lost on those sacks. That's pretty incredible. I mean, that means he was playing towards the line of scrimmage or at least trying to get back to it. I thought Tua looked great. I mean, he was really one of the only people on offense I didn't have a complaint about. Not his fault that Durham forgot to put his hands on that day or something like that. I don't know. I mean, he was doing everything he could to put this team on his back. And at the end of the day, it ended up working out for us. But man, how annoyed would he have been if they ended up losing that game? Because he was doing everything right. He's finding guys in space. He's making the dime throws that we expect from him. He's running, which we don't see very often. So I thought Tua was near perfect in this one.
Steve, what do you think?
Yeah, I like Tua. I like the fact that he's keeping his eyes down the field. That's actually, I believe, that's how he got sacked on the one where it was like a shoestring sack. He got kind of just tripped up and rolled over, but his eyes were downfield. He's not looking at the guy chasing him. So to be honest, I kind of liked it. He's not losing focus where his receivers are. He's trying to still get his hips right, put some pressure behind that ball and get it downfield. I bet you another second or two that ball would have been out. Well, definitely 2 more seconds, ball would have been out, but even another half a second, I think that ball was coming, and that's why he wasn't going to get rid of it.
And the big thing with Tua losing weight was the fear was he was going to lose strength, at least from me.
Yeah.
And you could see on that, was it 50 yards worth of air time to Tyreek? I mean, he still has it.
What I liked about watching Tua get sacked was how he fell as well. I didn't see his head bounce off. I didn't see him fall like a old person. I didn't see him fall like a child with no balance. Literally, sometimes when he fell, it's like, do you not know how to lay down? So it was just
it was hard to watch.
Yeah, it looked like it was a challenge for him to just get taken down to the ground, and now it's just like these jiu-jitsu practices. I think he's still doing
it. They said he's still doing it.
Yeah, it's what I seen a few months ago anyway. He was still doing it, but I think that they're really helping out, and I think he's just evolving as not even just a player, but as a human being. I think he's just getting better in all aspects of to his life. Really, he just seems like he's always on the right track, doing things the way things should be done in the community, giving out backpacks to kids going to school. I like what Tua's doing. I don't think Tua's got a whole lot of things going wrong for him other than other teams' fans.
So people were thinking it was a 34-20 game. My reason for not agreeing was that number one, I believe in McDaniel's play calling abilities, play designing abilities. I don't think he's a good in-game coach.
Hot take.
Yeah, but you know what? It's actually a take I've heard before in the past, and it's not a take that I completely disagree with, to be honest. Some of his in-game adjustments, some of his in-game decisions have left me scratching my head a little bit. And I've kind of chalked it up to, it's first season in the league. It's his second season in the league. It's now his third season in the league. And, I'm hoping he continues to improve in that area. But I don't wholly disagree with that, truth.
I mean, look, we didn't see any fades of Tyreek Hill in the end zone. So, hey, he's already improved, in my opinion.
He's still going for 4th and 4, though.
Those 2 fourth down calls were just him putting his nuts in a wheelbarrow and saying, "Here they go."
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't hate that. I don't hate that.
I didn't
most
love
of
the
the time.
second one. I didn't love
Yeah.
the second one. The second one, I was cool with a punt. A punt could have put them inside the 20. And I mean,
Yeah.
they were driving for sure. Jacksonville was driving all day, but you're either giving it to them on their side of the 50 or not, you know,
Mhm.
or you're making it. But 4th and 4 that's a tough 4 yards.
Yeah. Doug Peterson is a Super Bowl winning head coach,
Mhm.
far more experience.
Yep.
That plus, I knew that the Jags defense was going to give our guards major problems, and
Oh, yeah.
and we addressed that.
Mhm.
We addressed that. The guards did not have their best day. Robert Jones, especially. I thought Liam Eichenberg was okay.
Yeah, up and down, but decent. Probably net 0 if we're adding some stuff and subtracting some stuff.
Which, truthfully, given our past with Liam Eichenberg, is a win for us.
It's an understatement of the year.
I'm hoping as the season goes on, Liam Eichenberg gets better as he kind of grows into that right guard position. Like he finally has a home. You know, he started off a tackle and then you moved in the guard, then you moved in the center. Like put him in one spot and see if he can grow, see if he can flourish there. That's how you need to treat Liam Eichenberg from here on out. He's no longer our backup center. So there's that, I suppose.
Thank God.
Yeah. I was never a Fangio guy. I really like Weaver. What do you guys think of Weaver? Yeah, we talked about this earlier on in the show, True Fan. I think the consensus here is we're fans. Thus far, we're fans of Weaver. We're fans of the halftime adjustments that he made in particular.
So far, so good.
So if it's good with you guys, I want to get into game balls.
Yep.
I want to get into. Go ahead, Josh.
One more thing before we get to game balls and jock straps. By the way, that's what this segment should be called. I love it.
Game balls and jock straps, yeah.
Special teams, Elijah Campbell, right? Where it's one player, so maybe I could have waited till the game ball discussion because I think he deserves one. But the special teams coverage units as a whole were outstanding this game. Elijah Campbell forced a fumble. They were constantly, keeping up with the speed that Jacksonville has in the return game. I thought they showed out. And I know, Anthony, I believe it was you, and Steve, if it was you, I apologize. But one of you guys called out special teams as a key, focus to win this game, and they showed out.
Yeah. Yeah, agreed. And yeah, Anthony and I were poking fun of Duke Riley because he was the one that missed that fumble. He's the one that gave up that fumble at the bottom of that pile.
He had it.
It was in his hands. So Anthony and I were kind of poking fun a little bit. But in all honesty, Duke Riley is a really nice special teams player, as is Elijah Campbell. That's why these guys are on this team.
Mm-hmm.
They're not on this team to play defense. They're on this team to be special teams mavens the way they have been throughout their entire careers. And I agree. They had a really nice game. Special teams in general just look sharp.
Mm-hmm. Except for that one field goal attempt.
Yeah, the shank.
Yeah, the one field goal attempt. But you know what? Like Jason Sanders is good for 2 or 3 of them a season. So I'm gonna just, it didn't cost us the game. I'm gonna put it out of my mind entirely. Honestly.
Yeah, of course.
Last thing on the Weaver front, just really quick, because I know we want to get to game balls, is like I love what he did week 1. I want to see what adjustments he makes based on players. Is he going to stick with guys like Jordan Poyer if he keeps performing badly, or is he going to throw in Marcus May, right? Like, I want to see what adjustments he makes throughout the season.
It's a good call out.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's go into game balls. I'm going to start off with my first game ball, with my game ball player of the game, guy whose jersey I own.
Nice.
Huge fan of his. And honestly, if you're not going to pay him after a play like that, then when are you going to pay him? Javon Holland is my first game ball. He's my game ball. He saved that game for the Dolphins. Travis Etienne was getting ready to go in and kind of put this game out of reach, and Javon Holland came in and made the play for the entire Dolphins team that needed to be made. And for that, he gets my game ball. Steve, I'll go to you next.
I'm going to give it to Calais Campbell. He was just he was the heart and soul of that defense. He was right there closest to the ball before it's snapped every time, right up in the quarterback's face within seconds. Trevor had no time. I mean, there just wasn't a whole lot of time for Jacksonville to get together because of Calais Campbell.
Yeah.
Anthony, you next. Game ball.
Do Josh first because I want to see who he picks because then that's going to alter mine.
I was waiting to do the same.
Who gets your game ball?
I have a few. I think, honestly, as hard as this is for me to admit, but I am a man that admits when he's wrong. Mr. Jake Bailey gets my game ball.
I love it. I love it.
I think he kept us in this game, for lack of a better term, when we were struggling in the first quarter with pinning the Jags inside the 5, I think twice, inside the 10, 4 times, I think it was. He was a man possessed this game, and it was amazing to be wrong about him.
Yeah, agreed. True Fin fan. I know the game ball should go to the man, save the game Holland. However, for me, I'm giving it to the guy that started one game after tearing. Yep.
Yeah, nice call out.
Yeah, Jalen Phillips. I love it. And we talked about Josh Hines Allen. What kind of an athlete he is. How just monstrous and chiseled he looks. You know what? Jalen Phillips is our version of Josh Hines Allen.
Yep.
That man is
a freak,
unbelievable athlete.
I mean, it's like he's a super soldier made in a lab. I mean, the dude is ridiculous.
Yeah. If you told me he was a robot, just like designed to play football, I'd probably believe you.
Mm-hmm.
Great,
and in all honesty, if anyone can pull it off, Stephen Ross can probably afford it. So
yeah, I'm sure he could. All right, so Anthony, your game ball.
Yeah, I wanted to throw it to Josh because I didn't want to steal Bailey from him, so I'm happy I did that. So yeah, listen, Chop Robinson. No, I'm just kidding. But Chop did look pretty good. I was hoping for a sack, but a good first showing for him. I'm going to give it to Tua. I've been talking up Tua this whole dang day, this whole show. Leads the league in passing again, just picking up where he left off. Took over more of a leadership role. It's just, I mean, it's low-hanging fruit, but there's nobody better on this team right now than Tua.
Yep, agreed.
All right, so you went last on the game balls. Give me your jockstrap. Who gets the jockstrap for
Durham
you?
Smythe, get out of here. I don't want to see you on the field ever again. Ever. I mean, listen, the one pass was like a father throwing like a Nerf ball to a toddler, right?
I know.
Right, just like, oh, don't know why I can't catch it. What is going on? Like,
I couldn't believe he dropped the balls that he dropped. It was just,
it was 3 in a row.
Every time we need it.
Yeah.
Every time we need it, a major connection because it's 3rd and long or 2nd and long, and we need to shorten the field. Tua finds Durham Smythe. Smythe was good at getting open. He just wasn't good at catching the ball.
Serious case of Ted Ginn.
Yeah. Like Josh mentioned, Julian Hill was way more impressive. Jonnu Smith may as well have been invisible. So I would give it to the tight end room overall if Hill hadn't played well. So I'm going to go with Durham Smythe. It was a very forgettable day for him.
All right. Steve, give me a jockstrap.
Does it have to be a Dolphins player?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
The 4th cheerleader.
Well, I was going to say the play calling of Jacksonville because they kind of lost the game after halftime. They didn't score any second half points. But if we're gonna say a jockstrap on the Miami Dolphins team, I would probably say Robert Hunt because he couldn't get out of a quarter without getting
Robert Jones.
Or Robert Jones. I'm sorry, Robert. Yeah.
I wish Hunt was still here.
Yeah, that easy mistake. That's my fault. Yeah. Yeah, right. But no, that was hard. There was some good plays were called back with those.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed.
Deflated.
So, Josh, I went first. So that means you go ahead and give me your jockstrap.
Yeah, this one's very easy for me, and I don't even think it was close. I fully agree with Smythe, and I fully agree with Rob Jones. Not that you guys need me to agree with you, but I think the player that played worse, given the position he was in and given the name recognition, Jordan Poyer. I think he was late on everything. I think you could tell he was playing like he was 75 years old. He was misreading plays. I think he had maybe 1 or 2 good run stuffs as a drop down safety and as a box safety. But I would be thrilled, to Anthony's point, if Marcus May starts next game, because I think Josh Allen will take advantage of Jordan Poyer's kind of. You could tell Father Time is not being real nice to him. Now, I don't know if it was rust. I don't know. I mean, maybe he had a little nagging something or other. I don't really know, but he just did not show out at all in his first game as a Miami Dolphin.
Yeah, at one point he got a face mask and literally got his hand caught in the dude's face mask.
Now, I know he was wearing a cast, right? I think
he was wearing a cast, so his cast got caught in the guy's face mask. And the commentators, they kind of they commented on it saying, he got caught. The fox got caught in the hen house. So yeah, I agree with. Let's hear your game balls and jock straps in the chat. Absolutely, guys. I agree with everything you guys said. Robert Jones would have been mine. I liked the things he did for the Dolphins last year as a backup guard, and he was kind of handed the keys to the starting guard spot due to the injury of Isaiah Wynn in training camp. And I was hoping he was going to take that and run with it and kind of make the job his own. He still has a chance to do that. He still does. But, man, it did not get off to a good start. The one hold he had was 7 yards behind the play. It was not a hold he needed to commit.
Yeah.
And it negated a huge play for the Dolphins.
Yeah, 37-yard Achane run, I believe.
Yeah. Negated just a huge play, and it was just disgusting. The Dolphins had some demoralizing penalties when they could least afford to get them in that game.
We had 9 total penalties for over 100 yards.
Unfreaking real. So my Jockstrap award is going to go to a guy who it's going to raise your guys' eyebrows a little bit.
Uh-oh.
And given what we were talking about earlier in our Discord and earlier in the show, I'm giving my Jockstrap to Jalen Ramsey. Jalen Ramsey did not look good in this game. Jalen Ramsey, he chased down that play, and it was a great effort play by him. But you know what? You just became the top-paid cornerback in the NFL again. We need better from you.
What's
that?
Get the comments. That's hilarious.
Well done. Well done. Yes. Them too.
Yeah. Sorry, Keith. I didn't mean to.
Well done.
That's hilarious.
But Jalen Ramsey gets my Jockstrap award. You just become
Call out.
top paid cornerback in the NFL again. We need better from you. We need better. We need you to cover better. We need you to be better, not get beat in the first place by Brian Thomas. And then I understand why you committed the pass interference penalty, but you need to look back for the ball, and you need to understand that was an underthrown football. Honestly, if he looks back for the ball, he might get an interception there.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, he tackles the receiver and puts the ball on the one, and the touchdown was kind of inevitable at that point. So Jalen Ramsey gets my Jockstrap award this week. I'm hoping to give him a game ball later on in the season, though, because I know he's
be able to.
Oh, for
really
sure. Well, I think a lot went into him playing poorly this game. I mean, I don't think any of us can argue that he played poorly, but I think a lot went into, behind the scenes why he played poorly. And that's not an excuse, right? I mean, at the end of the day, you're the highest paid cornerback. You suited up, you're on the field, make some damn plays. But I think the rust, being out of football shape, I mean, everything we touched on earlier in the show, the injury, I think, being on a snap count, not being able to get into a rhythm. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it, but I could not agree with you more.
My number one Jockstrap would have been Durham Smythe, though, Anthony. I was so pissed off him throughout that game.
Oh, my goodness.
And at one point, they called a hold on him, and I don't think it was him that committed the penalty, actually.
No, it wasn't.
No,
I
it was
remember that.
it was
they called
Janu.
the hold on. What's that?
It was Janu, yeah.
It was Janu, but they called it on him.
They called it on Durham Smythe, and and that was right after he dropped the ball. So, oh my God!
We were raging we were raging in Discord. We were like, "Dang it, it's Smythe again!" Poor guy, it wasn't even him.
You know what? That's what he gets.
All right, so we've talked about the Jaguars. It is now on to tomorrow. Tomorrow. Can you guys believe it? Tomorrow night? Tomorrow
Jesus
night's matchup against the Buffalo Bills. Guys, this is a huge game. Huge, monumental game. I think it means more to the Dolphins than it does to the Bills, as a matter of fact. Because the Bills have kind of been the boogeyman for the Dolphins. Since Josh Allen has taken over as quarterback for them, the Dolphins have just a supremely tough time with this Buffalo Bills team. And a lot of that has to do with Josh Allen. A lot of that has to do with Sean McDermott coaching that defense. But the fact of the matter is, if the Dolphins are supposed to take themselves seriously, if they're supposed to get the NFL, the rest of the NFL to take them seriously, they need to knock off the team that's been the kings of their division for the past 5 seasons. So this is a huge game. They get it in week 2, and they get to kind of make a statement here. I want to know your guys' initial thoughts on it. So, Steve, I'm going to go to you first, man. The huge game. Give me your thoughts, man.
I love what you said, but I think it's a must-win for both teams just as much. Just because we play each other so early in the season and we're done with it, we don't play each other at the end of the season for grabs of the AFC East title. And I think it's going to come down to us and the Bills. And I think, if one of the two teams gets swept, God forbid it, I think we have a chance to sweep the Bills. I really do. But if the Bills get swept, they're leaving it in the hands of other teams to make the playoffs because they won't have the opportunity to play us later when it really, really counts. So I think it's a must win for both teams. I think both teams are going for a full sweep here. I don't think a 50-50 is going to do it.
I'll take a 50-50 after the past couple seasons, though.
I definitely would, but I with how early we're playing each other, nothing's going to help better than just a full sweep because we're not leaving it in the hands of wins and losses of other teams later down the season. True.
Josh, what do you think, man?
Yeah, I mean, look, I think this season it's going to be 50-50. I think we split. And I think the home field advantage wins out, right? So, I mean, I think both games are going to be very close. I think the Bills have, whether it be through players leaving in free agency or players not starting because of injury, I think that they've taken a slight step back. I mean, I'm not in any way shading the Bills. I think they are a solid football team. I mean, you have Josh Allen, and I'm puking in my mouth as I say this, but one of the best quarterbacks in this league for a reason. Yeah. I think there are things that we can do based on week 1 to limit his effectiveness. It's just a matter of if we can do them or not. And I think we've spent this entire offseason as a franchise working and making the moves and making the chess pieces, putting them where we need them to be to combat the Bills, not the Jets, the Patriots are the Patriots. Good win for them, but they're not going to get many more. I think the moves that we made specifically, if you look at the linebacker position, right? We got 3 down linebackers, if you will, depending on formations. We have won. PT just took it out of my mouth. We won 2 of the last 15 games against the Bills, but I think this will be a close one. I think, especially after everything that went on, whether it be before the game or during the game last week, I think the team comes ready to play. And I think this is a stamp on the season. I think this is at the end of the season when we are in the playoffs, I think, and I will say this, I think both teams are going to make the playoffs. I have the Dolphins winning the East by a 1-game margin, but I think both teams will look back at this week and realize that the winner of this game is the reason why that team wins the East.
Okay. Anthony, what are your initial thoughts on this game, man?
I felt much more confident about this game 4 days ago. Seeing Josh Allen do Josh Allen things in a game that they had no right winning. Seeing our offense struggle as much as it did, albeit against a stronger defense, I think, than what the Bills are currently sporting, but still. I'm scared. I mean, if I had to put my emotions into one word, it's scared. I don't want to see another blowout. As Preston put in the chat, 2-13 against the Bills in the last 15 games. It's been a very hard time to be a Dolphins fan. So, in New York especially. But Yeah, I think I sum up my initial thoughts. We'll get more into it. I assume as we go through,
Yeah.
we'll get matchups and stuff like that. But my initial thoughts are fear that we're going to once again not live up to the hype that we've built.
Well, you know, if you guys know me, the team I hate the most in the NFL is the Buffalo Bills. We all grew up around the same time. We're all millennials. We all grew up watching those '90s Bills just break our hearts year in, year out, and that left a stamp on me. You know, so of course, as soon as the Dolphins get good, the Bills just a little bit better, right? Of course, that's just how it goes down. I want this game so bad. It kills me that the Dolphins are 2-13 in their last 15 against the Bills. I was always of the mindset, I don't care. The Dolphins only have to win 2 games a season, and it's against the Buffalo Bills, and they haven't been doing it. Bills week just gives me agita that you it just I haven't been sleeping. I haven't been eating. I need this game to be over. I need the Dolphins to win. Mad Chatter, he's a Bills fan.
It's one of
the
them.
AFC Summit.
2 of them here. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, you know, we welcome everybody. We welcome everybody to come in.
We're equal opportunists.
Yes. Squish the fish. Yes. Look, thanks for tuning in, man. We really do appreciate it.
Yes, very true. Very true.
If we scroll all the way back up, I think somebody had a question as to why the Bills have our number.
Yes. Yeah. So that's one of the first. It's one of the first questions we got from Preston up here. Why do the Bills always have our number? I'll start off with you on this one, Anthony.
Josh Allen. I mean, that's the differentiator. I mean, they did have our number before he arrived, and they did have our number after he arrived. So, for whatever reason, the defensive coordinators we've had have been unable to come up with a plan for Josh Allen. If we stop him throwing the ball, he runs for 200, right? If we stop him running the ball, he throws for 4. So we haven't been able to find a way to just all around stop him from dominating in these games. And gosh, that's why I'm so nervous about this game now. It's one of the most frustrating games to watch as a Dolphins fan. Any division games, really. It's probably the most angry I get throughout the year. It's watching the Dolphins play a division opponent. It's because Josh is so freaking good, right? Yeah. And even though Tua can go toe-to-toe with him, it just doesn't seem to be enough because the defense just melts.
Yeah.
And it's so
And if you want more evidence about how good Josh Allen is, go back and watch that game last week against Arizona.
It was so disgustingly good.
Dude just strapped on a cape and willed that team to victory.
But I will say this, though. I will say this, and I said this to my friend, Mr. Stinklefritz, who is actually coming over to watch the game tomorrow, who's a massive Bills fan. And I said this to him in our group chat. I think with the weapons that the Bills have lost, I think a lot more has been put on Josh Allen's shoulders. And I'm not saying that he can't carry him, right? I mean, he did it last week. But I think if you look over the course of a long season, my question is to the Bills, can he sustain it, right? Because you're talking about a guy that's now accounted for 2 rushing touchdowns and 2 passing touchdowns. He's already slightly injured. It's nothing. It's non-throwing wrist injury, no big deal, fine, cool. But that could play a part in the game tomorrow because if he scrambles and we can force him to change hands with the ball, that weaker wrist that is slightly injured could prove to be a problem. And I wonder if the longevity of the season and him having to rush, pass, do all of it for the team, if he ends up not healthy towards the end of the season, which none of us want to see because we want every team at their best, obviously. But I'm wondering about that.
Absolutely. Just going to the chat real quick. Josh always has a good game against Miami. Yeah, he does. He does. I mean, I say the Bills are the boogeyman. in reality, Josh Allen is the boogeyman for the Miami Dolphins. He crushes us every time. What are the keys to stop him? I wish I knew, man, because go ahead.
Yeah. I mean,
Tell
the
me.
only thing that I can think of and you're not stopping. I mean, let's all be very, very clear on this. Everyone in the chat, all of us on the show, you're not stopping Josh Allen. We have to slow him down.
Yeah.
And there's a huge difference there, because I think if you look at Josh Allen over the last 4 or 5 years, and this is from a Dolphins perspective. So the Bills fans in the chat, I'm sure you might disagree, and that's totally cool. But I think he's not known for being an overly accurate quarterback in the intermediate and the short game. And he's not known for being a very good pocket. He doesn't have very good pocket presence. Where he is probably the best in the league is when he improvs, right? When the pocket collapses and he has to roll out and he has to make 6 jukes and stiff arm 5 guys and launch it 80 yards down the field, because he's got a howitzer attached to his shoulder.
Yeah,
that's where he is the best in the league, in my opinion, honestly, hands down. And I think his safety blankets, which were known as Dolphins killers, and Gabe Davis and Stephon Diggs, are no longer there. Now, Shakur, I forgot how to pronounce his
Shakir.
He's their, in my opinion, their only serious deep threat, and he's really good. I am a Florida State graduate, so the fact that they have Keon Coleman infuriates me, but he's a big-bodied, fast MFer, and he is those 50-50 balls that Josh Allen loves to howitzer down the field. He's going to be a problem. And then you factor in their 2 tight end sets, which I believe they have the 2 best tight ends. They have the best tight end room as a whole in the league. They have problems, but if we can prevent Josh Allen from scrambling and making plays on the fly, keep him within the pocket, make him get to his second or third or fourth read, I think we can slow him down enough to win this game.
Steve, what do you think, man?
I think getting him out of the pocket and having a spy, using our fast linebackers, I think this is the game where our fast linebackers come into play, because as I said before, Josh Allen's game is going to be different. He's going to have to use his feet a lot more again. So I think with, our pass rushers and Phillips and Campbell and Sealer, I think we have enough firepower to kind of get Josh running around the pocket a little bit, that he's not going to really be able to use his legs as much as he was in Arizona. I didn't see a whole lot of spying on him. I didn't watch the game, but I did go and watch all the highlights and everything. And it kind of just seemed like, it more or less seemed like that Buffalo kind of just let it get away, and they were just playing pick up the whole way. But their defense didn't, or their offensive line didn't really look like they had too much of a struggle, because the defense didn't really apply all that much pressure. I mean, they were able to score those 32 points pretty quickly after our already being down. It kind of, I think Miami's going to be able to apply way more pressure than the Arizona Cardinals were able to apply. And I think that's going to throw Josh off. I think the tides turn, and pun is definitely intended with that. So, yeah.
And I do think Brown and Dawkins, both of their offensive tackles are problems. I mean, they are athletic, they're strong, they're mountains of men.
Yeah.
I think the interior offensive line of the Bills can be taken advantage of, which
they just got a new center, and I don't know Mitch Morris, I believe.
No, Mitch Morris left. He was there.
He left. Yeah, that's who was their center. So they just got a new center. I don't know a whole lot about him.
He's pretty decent from what I hear, talking with friends of mine that are Bills fans, but their guards I worry about, which is a good thing, in a good way, because they're a problem.
Yeah, I noticed that we sent a lot of pressure down the middle against Jacksonville, and I think that's the key to stopping Josh Allen, is sending pressure down the middle and not from the outsides, because I think our fast linebackers are going to be able to hold them edges.
Yeah.
They
He's gonna run. There's no doubt about it. I mean, his receivers all together. I mean, Coleman was his leading receiver with 4 receptions, 51 yards. Like he's going to run. He has no faith in these guys. Hollins has 2 for 25 and a touchdown. Shakir had 3 for 42 and a touchdown. Like that's not that impressive. If you have them for fantasy, you're only happy because they got the touchdowns. You know, like the Josh Allen wasn't throwing up the craziest numbers. He just made it look really good with 4 touchdowns because he did it himself. You know, it's not like he had any help, and I don't think he's going to get a whole lot of offensive line help either. And unless something happens in this receiver core, I really don't see Buffalo being that big of a threat in the AFC East. I kind of see them being a little flat. James Cook's not going to be able to do everything, and Josh Allen's not going to be able to do everything. He's already got a bum left hand. You know, to start off the season, it's already wrapped up. He's already probably going to play a lot of shotgun. So therefore, the run's not going to work that well. You know, and if they're going to be relying on James Cook, I don't think this game's going to be the game that.
Well, all right, Anthony, what do you?
I'm not touching this bad juju, so don't call on me.
Anthony, what do you think, man?
About what?
Steve, I'm having a hard time with what you're saying, man. I'm having a hard time because
I wish I was as confident as Steve. I'll say that.
Yeah.
No, I love it. I love it.
I wasn't all that
until
impressed.
we do it.
I mean, they did it against the Cardinals.
No,
You
but
guys heard
until
how
we
I
do
felt
it
about
consistently against the Bills, we have no right to sit here and say, they're going to struggle, because they always find a way to do it.
So
Now, but
this
is not a Bills podcast, right?
Yeah.
But
all them past seasons, we never had a stable head coach. Granted, we did get swept last year. I'm not putting that beside, but we've never really had stable coaches. We've never had a stable quarterback. We've never had stable receiving cores. We've had decent defenses that kind of held us afloat when Ronnie Brown was doing all of our offensive production. You know, like this, we have a real offense here. We have, and Buffalo's actually regressing in their offense. They've done nothing in the offseason that's telling me that they're going to be as powerful as they were last year. And I think we've only gotten stronger. I really don't see how Buffalo's. I see how Buffalo can win. I mean, we played like junk against the Jacksonville Jaguars. If we play like that, it's a tough game. But if we play up to our potential, and Buffalo, if that was Buffalo's potential against that Cardinals team, I don't see us having a big issue with them. I mean, the Cardinals aren't going to be a threat in their division. So
I will say this, though, where I do agree slightly with Steve, and I'm going to be careful with the powers that be that listen to all of this stuff and make the outcomes of the game. No, I'm kidding. They also, taking into account what they lost already, Teron Johnson, right? Second team All-Pro last year, is a massive part of their 4-2 style that they play on defense out of the game. He plays in the slot in the nickel. Coupled with Milano being injured, Smoot, their fourth defensive end, I think he's their fourth defensive end, is also out, I believe. Yeah. Tyler Rapp, DeMar Hamlin in the back ends. I mean, their defense, their front is incredible. I mean, Greg Rousseau, AFC Defensive Player of the Week. Von Miller, maybe taking a step back, but he's still Von Miller. And their interior defensive line is not too shabby. Linebackers, cornerbacks, and safety is where we're going to win this game, in my opinion. And we'll see what happens.
All right, so I'm going to go through the chat real quick, and then we're going to get into key matchups that we're looking at in this game. We're getting up to an hour and a half here, so we need to stay on task. So let's see. Mad Chatter again. Thanks for tuning in. We really appreciate it, even though you're a Bills fan. Again, we welcome all fans.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, exactly. If we did not have Josh Allen, we would be 6'11". Yeah, I can't disagree with you there. Josh Allen is unbelievable. Things he can do on a football field. You know, not many, none come to mind, honestly. The people who can do what Josh Allen can do on the football field, run the way he can and throw the ball the way he can.
He literally makes every football team better except the
Yeah.
Chiefs.
Yeah. But even like the Chiefs, like Patrick Mahomes can't run like Josh Allen can.
No, and I don't think.
And-
Well, he could probably throw just as well. I mean, they both.
No,
have-
I think Josh Allen has a better arm. You know, he has a more powerful arm at the very least. You know, there's more to being a quarterback in the NFL than powerful arm and runs
Mhm.
fast. But
Sure.
as evidenced by Patrick Mahomes' dominance of the NFL since he came into the league. But as far as just pure athletic ability, as far as what Josh Allen is capable of on a football field, I don't know that I've ever seen it before, honestly. Big, strong, fast, rocket for an arm. And it was on full display against the Cardinals on Sunday. So James Cook kind of scares me too. Yeah, James Cook's a decent back. And Jason, you know, he's every bit as good as Travis Etienne, in my opinion. And Travis Etienne, Tank Bigby. Hey,
I mean, sure.
They're in the same tier. They're in the same, you know.
I will say this: I'm getting.
here.
There's a lot of Bills love going on, and so far in this segment, and we gotta change the narrative here.
You gotta curve that. If Tua gets to read 2 or 3, he will win. Yeah, absolutely. And this is part of what the Dolphins did in the offseason in him slimming down, becoming a little more mobile, so he can extend plays a little bit and get to read 2 or 3. Ray Davis. You know, he reminds me of Ray Davis. He reminds me a little bit of Maurice Jones-Drew.
Oh,
Kind of like a bowling ball out there.
Good
you know.
Mm-hmm.
As a Bills fan, the turnover in our secondary worries me. This is a good opportunity to expose the experience of the guys working as a unit back there. Yeah. I think, Josh, you touched on this just a couple minutes ago. Teron Johnson being down, being injured, that's a big loss for the Bills. He's one of the top slot cornerbacks in the NFL right now, and they're going to miss him. Same way the Dolphins missed Nick Needham when he went down with his Achilles a couple of years ago. Slot cornerbacks now are starters on your team because that's just how offenses are built. They're built to go 3 wide receivers. So, you know, Teron Johnson being down, that's a big loss.
Well, especially when you look at the type of defense that the Bills specifically run. They run a 4-2, where they have a lot of backs on the field naturally.
Yeah.
So the fact that they're losing a second-team Pro Bowler is massive.
Absolutely. So you missed Diggs bad. Yeah, I think you missed him, but I don't think you missed him as bad as you might think you did.
I think you missed Gabe Davis more than Stephon Diggs.
I think Josh Allen's adjusting to the new world order in Buffalo, and before long, you're not going to miss Diggs at all. And that's not because I think Keon Coleman's going to be better than him or Khalil Shakir. I just think the Bills' offense shouldn't be designed to force feed one guy the football. I think they're better off with Josh Allen spreading the ball around to 9 different guys. Guys, I would say no. He would go down, load management.
Talking about Josh Allen.
Talking about Josh Allen.
Oh, okay. All right.
I was man, he took the words right out of my mouth. He's going to be running the ball so much. He's going to get hurt. I don't think the Bills.
Do you think they finished the season with him?
As I'm sitting here thinking about it and we're talking, and his hand's already bummed, and I'm looking at these stats that the receivers put up for him and how much he's really, you know, just trying to do it all on his own. I mean, he still had 232 passing yards and only 39 rushing yards, but he's always trying to hurdle people. He's always trying to go through people. He doesn't run out of bounds. He doesn't slide. He's gonna hurt himself. I mean, it's awesome. It's fun to watch. It's electric. The city of Buffalo jumps through tables for this guy. You know, that's what Josh Allen is to the city of Buffalo. Is what the city of Buffalo is to Josh Allen. They're the same thing. They're just gonna run through a wall for you. But you don't want your quarterback doing that all the time. He hurt his hand hurdling somebody into the end zone. You need the touchdown. I get it, but You can.
Well, we need him to do more of that then.
Yeah,
we get
yeah.
to face
By all
Mitch,
means,
I
go
mean,
nuts.
we're feeling pretty good.
Why don't you put 6 linemen and 2 tight ends and just let it be Josh Allen running the whole time?
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, it would eventually help, but
It'd still be a close game, I bet, though.
maybe.
Josh will turn the ball over at least once. Yeah, that is an aspect of Josh's game. He's kind of Brett Favre with rushing ability. Brett Favre with legs. So I'm surprised he's not hurt. Yeah, but that's a testament to his toughness. That's a testament to how big and physical and just
He's built like a shit brick house, man. I mean,
yeah, man,
he's massive.
He's built like a Greek god. He's built like freaking Zeus or Achilles or whatever, you know.
This next one,
yeah, Josh Allen
not against us.
Yeah, never against us.
Because
Exactly.
last year we got him during a rut, and all of a
he
sudden
went off.
playing the Dolphins really fixed that rut.
Yeah,
He got like
48 on us or whatever.
He got in the 40s
Unbelievable.
somewhere. Yeah, it was annoying.
Was that the game where it was like 48-12 or something like that?
Dude, I was so high on that game. I was like, oh, this is the year we're gonna kick Buffalo's. I sound the same. I do.
Yeah,
but hey, true Dolphins fans form. This is going to be the game, guys.
But no, you know what? Though? The team is way different for Buffalo, and I mean, I can't stress it enough. Our team didn't get worse.
No, we got better.
There's nowhere that we got worse, and I can't tell you where Buffalo got better on offense. They have the same running back. They have the same core. I mean, maybe Josh Allen got bigger, faster, stronger. I have no idea, but overall, he didn't get miles better than he was last year. You know what I mean? There's not a whole lot of new things going on in that Buffalo offense.
Yeah, and I will say this. I know you guys are all going to roll your eyes because I've been beating this dead horse with the sticks since our very first show, but I think our not two new linebackers, but our linebackers in Brooks and Long Jr. are going to make the difference in this game. And I have it as a close game, but they are fast. They can cover. They can hit. Yep. I mean,
I think that's
why you signed them.
As I'm thinking, I think literally we game plan Buffalo for who we signed as our linebackers because
exactly
if we were in a run heavy division like the NFC West say, we're not having that linebacker core. You need somebody a little bit more stockier or at least somebody a little bit more run stopping in that division. This division, you don't have a big bodied running back. Ramondre Stevenson's probably the biggest one, and he's just thick.
Yeah. So Vaughn had a sack. Greg Rousseau had 3 sacks. Are you concerned with the Bills' D-line getting pressure onto it? Yeah.
It'd be stupid if we weren't.
Losing Teron Johnson's huge, bigger than losing Milano. I'd say it's comparable, Mr. Snicklefritz. Absolutely.
Interesting take.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is a very interesting. That's an interesting take.
Yeah.
I would have thought because I think when I think of the Bills' defense, I think of Matt Milano being the heartbeat of that team. Right.
Yeah. But then again, they played at least half the season without Milano last year and kind of adjusted to life without him.
Yeah.
Whereas with Teron Johnson, he was a second team All-Pro last year. So there's something to be said for the loss of Teron Johnson because they're just not used to playing football without him.
Yeah.
And I'm here for all the Bills' love. I'm sure you are, Mr. Snicklefritz. And what do you think of McDaniel's new look? I look at McDaniel's and I think
awful.
I think he's 1 year away from. Yeah, I think he's 1 year away from being Tony Montana.
Yeah. All right, so let's. You know what, Anthony? I haven't heard from you in a while, man. Give me some matchups that you're looking forward to in this game. What do you think, man?
Yeah, so last week I noticed the Arizona Cardinals really, really focus on Dalton Kincaid. There is an image going around where there's 4 Cardinals players surrounding Dalton Kincaid.
I saw that, yeah.
I don't think we're going to do the same thing, and I think Dalton Kincaid is the biggest weapon that they have right now. I think highly touted coming out of college, had a really, really good rookie season that was overshadowed by what Laporta did over in Detroit. But if you look at Kincaid compared to other rookie tight ends, I mean, he had a really good rookie season. And when you're looking at the wide receiver core, like, Steve and Josh have alluded to, where, a rookie Keon Coleman is the one right? The one. There's Khalil Shakir, there's Curtis Samuel, and then
Mac Hollins.
And Mac Hollins, which I
Mackie.
love Mac Hollins,
Yeah.
and he's like a destroyer of worlds.
Yeah. I miss Mac Hollins. I do.
I do too. I really wish
He's
he
a
stayed.
fun
But
guy.
like the point being is like their receiver core is not scaring anybody, but Dalton
Yeah.
Kincaid does, and there's a reason like Arizona's, we're hyper focused on him, and Dawson Knox is another Dolphin killer. So the two tight ends combined, I think that's where the trouble is. Jordan Brooks and David Long had an up and down game week 1 against Jacksonville.
Yeah.
They were brought in because we needed more speed at middle linebacker, right? But who do you have where? Who's covering the tight ends? Who's covering Josh Allen? Like, I am watching to see how Anthony Weaver handles this. This is obviously his biggest test yet.
And that's a good point. You need somebody covering Josh Allen. Sorry to interrupt you, but that's a really good point. Like, you have to designate that.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't think
you
you
bring
can
in
spend the entire game spying Josh Allen because you're leaving your back end so vulnerable to tight end.
Well, that's what I'm thinking. Do you bring in a 5th defensive back like May and have him spy the whole game? Like that's really
that weapon X position.
Right.
Yeah.
I like that.
I love that. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you want one or more matchups because I figure one at a time.
Give me another one, Anthony. You've been largely silent down there this show, so give me another one.
I'm absorbing all of your guys' knowledge. That's all I'm doing down here, right? So it's just so good to talk to Dolphins fans, like-minded. And I don't want to steal all the matchups, so I think the one I actually just kind of shifted to when I shifted out of Dalton Kincaid form and went to Josh Allen running the ball form. I do think that's a huge one. It's maybe the biggest one we have to worry about. I know he only had 39 yards last week, but 2 touchdowns, guys. That's the stat that matters. When they're in the red zone, Josh Allen is a touchdown machine. That's a good question. I'll let one of the other boys handle that one.
All right. So all right. So yeah, I agree. I think I agree with what Josh said. You can't spy Josh Allen the entire game. You just can't. But I think what Josh Allen forces you to do is play more zone, which you're keeping your eyes on the quarterback while simultaneously kind of keeping your eyes in coverage. You play man against Josh Allen. Josh Allen's going to run all over the yard on you. So I see the Dolphins playing a lot of zone, and I don't know that that's their strength.
No, but I see a lot of hybrid. So I see maybe our linebackers playing zone with our cornerbacks playing, our linebackers and safeties playing zone with our cornerbacks playing man press or something like that, just to try to offset some of the timing and whatnot, while also containing Josh Allen in the pocket and not letting him hopefully scramble as much to improvise.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong here. I think this worked really well last time we actually won against them in 2022, that really close game. But I feel like in that game, we had our edge rushers actually dropping back a lot to kind of just throw them off the scent of like what was coming. So occasionally dropping Jalen Phillips back is going to throw him off. He tries to run. I mean, you're not getting past Phillips. That's why I'm like so hyper focused on like, what is Anthony Weaver going to do here? Like, this is a huge test, division rival. And your biggest problem is don't let this guy run into the end zone.
Yeah. All right. Steve, give me a matchup that you're looking forward to in this game.
I'm interested in seeing how Tua reacts to the pressure of the defense. I'm interested in seeing if Ed Oliver is gonna get in there, or you got the Daquan Jones.
Daquan Jones.
Yeah, Daquan Jones. I mean, these guys aren't sleepers, and I don't know how our interior is compared to our exterior. I like our outsides way better than our inside, and I think this is probably, well, obviously to date, this is our toughest matchup, and it's going to be, I think, throughout the season, because until we get to Green Bay, I don't think that there's going to be interior linemen that we're going to see that's as good as these two. So that's the matchup I'm interested to see how Tua, how quick he can get the ball out, how that pocket kind of creates for him. I'm interested.
It's Ed Oliver's a problem. Ed Oliver's always been a problem.
Yeah.
No matter
Ed Oliver's
who,
a problem.
yeah,
For sure.
Funny.
No matter who's playing guard for the Dolphins, Ed Oliver seems to, much like Josh Allen, he seems to have some of his best games against the Dolphins.
Yeah.
So with less than ideal guard play, this is why I have Ajita. This is why I stay up at night.
It's not the matchup I'm excited for, but it's the one I'm definitely watching.
Oh,
yeah. So give me a matchup you're watching, Josh.
Yeah, honestly, I'm a glutton for punishment, so I cannot wait for this game. Right, win, lose, draw. It should be. Hopefully, it's a good game, and hopefully, we're on top. But for me, it boils down to our defensive front against Brown and Dawkins. So they're two offensive tackles.
Yeah,
I think because they are the strength of in my opinion. I'm sure Bills fans might disagree, but they are the strength of their offensive line. They are two very, very, very good offensive tackles. And I think given how weak their interior offensive line is, if we can make a dent versus their, at least in my opinion, their two best offensive linemen, we win this game. Right. So if Calais Campbell, who's a kind of a Swiss Army knife, he can be inside, he can be outside, he can rush, he can drop. JP, hopefully he's not on too short of a snap count. You have Sealer, who had a very quietly good second half against the Jags, and you have our two rookies in Mo and I can't believe I'm drawing a blank.
Chop.
Thank you, Chop. Jesus, I was trying to think of his real last name, Robinson. I think there's a lot of potential mismatches, and what I love about how we have structured our defensive line specifically is that they're all interchangeable, which allows us to throw 11, 12 different looks of the same base defense to the opposing team. You can put JP on the inside. You can put Calais on the outside. You can put Mo Kamara on the inside. You can put Sealer on the outside and swap them all. And you never know who's rushing, who's eating up blockers for the linebackers to rush, or who's punching and dropping off into coverage. And I think it's going to be that is where the game will be won or lost, in my opinion.
Okay. I agree. I think this game is won and lost in the trenches, which is why the matchup I'm looking forward to is the Dolphins. Much kind of riffing off of what Steve was saying, Dolphins offensive line against the Bills defensive line, specifically in the running game. The Dolphins cannot. They can't go the rest of the season. They can't go throughout this game not running the football or running the football the way they ran the ball against the Jaguars. That's not sustainable.
I have a question for you, Keith.
Not for success. Yes, Steve.
Oh, wait. It's actually in there. Yeah, I was going to ask you, do you think that they're going to run the ball more 20? Like if there was an over-under on Vegas that was like 22 times, do you think they're going to run it more or less than that?
I think they should run it more than that.
Yeah.
I think they should run it more, but I don't know that they will. That's game script. That's game script. That determines how much they're going to run the football. But the Dolphins are at their best when they're running the ball, when they're running the ball effectively. That's how a Mike McDaniel, Kyle Shanahan, Mike Shanahan, Gary Kubiak offense runs best, is when they're running the ball effectively. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And, one would argue that's how all offenses run best. But this offense especially is humming when you're stacking the box and trying to stop Achane
Right.
or Mostert or
hot take Jalen Wright going over 100 yards this game.
Hey, I love it.
I love it.
From gouging you, and this is what the Dolphins need to do. They need to run the football much better than they did against Jacksonville.
So do you think that if the Bills end up winning, it'll be a defensive win over an offensive win? Do you think the offense has an ability to beat the Dolphins?
I think the entire Bills team has the ability to beat the Dolphins.
Yeah.
They, I blame it. I blame a lot of it on Josh Allen, but I mentioned Ed Oliver. We've mentioned Matt Milano, who's not going to play in this game. There's a lot of players on the Bills that have just been. They play their best against the Miami Dolphins for whatever reason. I'm not,
I'm going to say it's out of respect.
Okay.
Just so I can sleep better at night.
Let's go with that. All right, so guys, we're getting up to an hour and 45 minutes. We've been at this. We do need to kind of wrap up here soon. So I'm going to get some score predictions from you. Give me some score predictions and give me maybe a bold take for what you think is going to happen in this game. Anthony, I'm going to start with you.
Yeah, I think it's 24-21 Dolphins, despite the fear in my heart and in my mind. I do think Miami comes out on top in this one. I lowered my score much more than last week's score against the Jaguars after seeing our slow start. I'm kind of pulling back a little bit on our offense until they kind of get the wheels in motion. As everybody's alluded to in this thing, there's a lot of changes on our offense, right? No River Craycraft underneath as like kind of to a safety valve. Play calling was a little rusty, so we'll see what they do. My bold prediction for this one is that if Achane doesn't play, it's Jalen Wright season. Josh just mentioned 100 yards, bold take. I don't want to steal your bold take, so I will also say that Jalen Phillips, he will get 2 sacks in this one.
Hey,
All right,
I like it.
Love it. Steve, give me a score prediction, man.
I got 26-23 Miami, but my bold prediction is we win in overtime.
Hey,
Okay,
I love that. That's terrifying.
Yeah, it is.
I truly do think that the defense is going to be the biggest problem that the Bills give us, and I don't know how we handle their defense with how slow our offense was last game.
Right. My heart can't take this kind of stuff, Steve. The way they won against the Jaguars last week, and then you're predicting an overtime game. Yeah. I'm going to be dead by December. That's
easy, good bro. Football. Easy. It's good football.
That's funny. But that's why we do this stuff, man.
Yeah. All right, Josh, give me a score prediction, bold take.
Yeah, so score prediction 27-23 Miami. I think it's going to be real close. Well, first of all, I think Buffalo jumps out to a lead. I think Miami catches up. I think it stays close until towards the end of the game, and then I think Miami pulls away. Let me ask you guys a question. Do you want a bold take on defense or offense? Because I have one of each.
Give me them both.
Yeah. All right. So I think, as stated earlier, I think just no matter if Achane is in or out, I think Jalen Wright has over 100 yards of total yardage, not just rushing, of total yardage. All right. So receiving and rushing. Defense, I think we'll pick Josh Allen off twice.
All right.
One to the house.
Not quite. Not comfortable. Not comfortable.
I'm trying to speak for you. Nobody saw me.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going 27-24. So out of all of us, the largest margin of victory predicted here is 4 points by Josh.
Yeah.
Me, Steve, and Anthony all went 3 points. I said 27-24 on last night's show on Nickel City Mafia. I'm going 27-24 tonight. My bold prediction, I was actually going to say the Dolphins pick off Josh Allen twice. Right. My bold prediction is one of them is going to be Jordan Poyer.
Oh.
Ooh.
One of those interceptions is going to be Jordan Poyer.
Off the bench. So, I like it. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Revenge game. Revenge of what? I don't know, but revenge.
So, look, guys, first and foremost, we want to thank everybody who joined us in the chat tonight. Mr. Snickle Fritz, Mad Chatter, Preston,
Andrew.
Yeah, Andrew, yep. True Fin fan. Thank you so much, guys. Michaela, you guys joined us as well. Thank you, everybody, for joining us in the chat tonight. We really appreciate it. If you haven't already done so, please like and subscribe. Mrs. Aqua Ace. Great show, guys. Thank you, Mrs. Aqua Ace. If you haven't already done so, please like, subscribe, and check out our Facebook page and our Instagram page. Is that up and running now, Steve?
Yes.
Okay. So check out our Facebook page or Instagram page. I will get QR codes up here.
And links. We'll get links as well.
Yeah, links and QR codes. We'll get that going next week. But for now,
quick, a little shout out to just something to keep an eye on for all of our growing fans. There will be a merch shop up here in the next couple of weeks, hopefully, with some really, really great items.
Yes, absolutely. I'm hoping I'll be wearing my merch next week.
Yes, you guys should have all of your stuff no later than the 16th.
Awesome. Really looking forward to that. So look, guys, Dolphins Bills tomorrow night. We're nervous. We're excited. We're all jacked up. I don't know how anybody's going to work tomorrow. I don't know how I'm going to go to work tonight. It's just
These games get you so jacked up you want to go out there and play. I'm like, I can
know.
take a hit.
On a link.
Oh,
I was
nice.
hoping
yeah,
to
I'll
not
take a
be-
10th and sit on the bench, right? Save some salary cap, guys.
So again, everybody, thank you for tuning in tonight. We really appreciate it. We're going to continue to try and grow this channel, try and get better for you. So if you have any suggestions or if you just want to chat, just hit us up in the chat in the comments, and we'll be sure to get back to you. So I'm the Philly Fans fan for Aqua Ace and Steve and Anthony. Guys, fins up. Go Dolphins. Let's beat the Bills tomorrow night.
Finally.
Clubbed up, baby.
Have a good night, guys.